Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing a quick little webinar on anchor activities, something that you may have come across before, and it's a very simple concept, I guess, to grasp, and it's relevant to pretty much everyone who works in education, particularly those who work in high school, primary school, mainly primary school, but it is relevant to all of the different age groups in that classroom type setting. Probably not with adults as much, but definitely if you're a class-based teacher or a teacher aide and you're working with students for long periods of time, anchor activities are very important because they help reduce behavioural issues. They make running the classroom a lot easier, the general logistics and operational requirements of the classroom. From a time perspective, because you're obviously very busy, it actually reduces, it takes a little bit of effort to set up, but then it reduces the amount of time and effort that is required at those peak periods, such as in the morning when kids are being dropped off and coming into class and so on and so forth. So while it does take a bit of effort to set up some type of anchor activity program or series of activities, it can actually save you time and stress immediately. So basically you've got a lesson plan here. Now an anchor activity, so we've got a lesson activity plan here. Now somewhere in the middle, say this is at 0 minutes, this is at, let's go 90 minutes to do something different. And let's say at 45 minutes, students are transitioning to do something different. So they're doing, say, an art activity here, and down here they're going to do, let's call it reading. So, but it could be anything. Now transitions happen, transitions happen at this point here. I think I might have been getting my anchor activities and transitions mixed up, which is another video that I'll be doing next. At this point here, students are going to be transitioning from one activity to another, and it's obviously a period of risk in terms of behaviour management, bullying, all those types of things. So quite often here is where we schedule in some anchor activities, or at least have those activities available for students, because some students might actually finish their art activity around here. Now you need to think about then what you're doing with students in this particular period. That can quite often be a challenge activity, but what students or what teachers quite often have and plan for is an anchor activities type system where students can finish their activity first, and then if they do have a bit of spare time, even if it's there, so they've got 10 minutes, a spare 10 minutes, then they're able to go and do one of their anchor activities. Now, that can quite often be a special reading corner or a special student access centre or something like that. They go by various different names, and it's usually some type of, I wouldn't say fun, but possibly a fun but engaging activity that students want to do. Usually it's a series of activities, so they can choose between worksheets, they can play some type of game and so on and so forth, and it's usually related to the actual topic. So it'll be related to art or related to reading, or at least it will have some type of educational benefit to the student. It can be a consolidation type thing where they're just, for example, they might be reading and they can go and choose to read a book or whatever on a topic that is of interest to them. One activity that students really like doing that's kind of an anchor activity is sitting on a computer and playing some type of educational video game, whether it's a maths game or spelling game or something like that. So that's basically where anchor activities are used. They're used as a transition. They're also used at the start. So imagine this is a full day. You've got that start period. You've got obviously those end periods and transition periods there. They're quite often used at the beginning of the day where, let's say here at 0 is say 8:45 in the morning. That's when students come in. But you get students arrive here at say 8:20 and they can come in and go on with their anchor activities at that point, sometimes 8:30, depending on if you're letting them into class at different stages, and when there is an adult there to supervise as well. Now, the big thing with anchor activities is that it is an independent task, so it's usually not marked or assessed. Well, it's very, very rarely is it marked or assessed. It doesn't involve the teacher or teacher aid helping the student. It's usually something that they can do on their own. So you've just got to bear that in mind as you're setting those types of tasks up. Now, there's no special way to do anchor activities. If you go online, you're always going to see fantastic, amazing things that look colourful and so on and so forth. You don't have to go down that path. It just has to be something that students want to do. Not even all students, but sometimes these are used, or I wouldn't say mainly used, but quite often they're used for those accelerated students or students who are, I guess, high achievers. So it gives them that ability to go on it, gives them that means by which they can extend their learning, and they're usually quite often the students that are most motivated to come in and do a little bit of extra work here and so forth, and they're usually the ones that are going to finish early as well. So not always, that's not necessarily the only reason for that. Sometimes anchor activities can also be used to help students who are having a meltdown or those types of things, to distract them. Or to provide a reward for them, an alternative reward, so that instead of seeking that reward of being kicked out of class so they don't have to do anything. So you can use them for various different ways, but traditionally, I guess, not that anchor activities is a overly traditional strategy as far as teaching strategies goes, but I guess traditionally it's used at the start of class, so students come in, they know what they're doing, they know what to go on with. Now, you can also use anchor activities, and where I most commonly use them or prefer to use them is where students walk straight into their lesson. So again, I won't draw another one. You have your lesson that technically starts here. So students walk into class, say in a high school English class or whatever, maths class, it can be anything really. And for the first 10 or so minutes, they know exactly what to do. So you've got this little period here. Students can come in and they might be doing something like a writing to learn task, or they'll have 4 questions on the board, and every session they come in, there's 4 questions on the board. So they know to come in, look at those questions and go through and say work them out. That can be a daily revision or something like that. In English or those language classes, any type of activity that just gets them writing, whether it's writing about the weekend or writing about something you put on the board or a question that you pose or just complete free writing, is always a really good anchor activity that is very common, I guess, and commonly used. And then after that, that's when you might start doing your, I guess, up the front instruction, whether that's, however you go about doing that. That's where the lesson sort of starts after that 6-minute or 8-minute activity there. And then as the stragglers come in and those that are late or those that are early, they can all go on with that anchor activity at that point. So that's the basics of anchor activities. Don't let it confuse you or don't think of it as being some overly complicated type thing. It is really just setting some additional activities that are free choice type activities where students want to do it. It's at an appropriate level. It's related to the topic at hand, or at least it's educational. Usually there's lots of choice, and it's available for students to do when there are periods of, where there are gaps, and you need some type of, it's not quite a time waster, which is sort of a different thing altogether, but it's probably not far from a time waster. It's similar in that it does waste time, it fills those gaps, but there's also some specific educational goals there that can help the students learn to read or practice their maths, or it might even be on a topic that's not related to, say, reading, or maybe they are reading, but they're reading on a topic specifically of interest to them. So whatever that may be, a particular sport or a period in history or something like that. So that's the basics of anchor activities.